Previously on podcast Without Pretense.
You know what's a good idea? Getting a puppy.
You know, it's a good idea. Getting drunk.
I still have the bruises to prove it.
That was one
I'm Jonathan
phenomenal
Strickland.
episode. I'm Maya
I'm
Zachar.
Jonathan.
I'm
Yeah.
Eric Sandine.
And together we form a full night's sleep. If you add all of
says
the
you.
hours we each individually got together. Hey guys, how are you doing?
I am good, except my lighting's all screwy today. But you know, last time I was at a different area in the little home office, which is a corner. Now I'm in a different corner, and my camera, which has been fine every other test, is now saying I'm super dark, which at least my shot is. I'm not that dark. Anyway, I'm pretty good. My voice is still shot from Sunday though. How are you, Eric?
I'm pretty good. I've slept well and I have okay lighting. So out of the three of us, I'm fantastic.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, I mean, best news for me today was that Google finally announced that Google Fiber is in fact coming to Atlanta. So I
Well,
look forward
aren't
to
you
having that.
so full of good luck, you son of
I
a
am.
bitch?
Not only am I full of good luck, but god damn it, my internet's going to be fast.
No, no more like HSPA plus hotspot things that you used to use in the old
Yeah,
days.
no, now I've been using Comcast for the last couple of years, or else I wouldn't even be able to do this podcast. But I will not be sad to see them go. I will be sad to endure the customer retention policy that they have when I actually try to cancel my cable subscription with them. But once that's done, you know. I'm also really looking forward to other companies actually trying to offer competitive rates and download speeds, because I'm not to the point where I absolutely have to get the Google Fiber if there's another company that's going to offer similar speeds for a similar price. That's really what I'm more interested
Like
in.
that's gonna happen. Your $70 gigabit up and down. You're like,
Yeah.
I could pay $85 for something that's like 50/50, or I could save $10 a month and increase the speed to gigabit. So
Well, I mean, there are other markets like in Austin where AT&T was essentially matching what Google Fiber was doing out of just sheer fear that they were going to get run out of town otherwise. So that's the sort of thing that I'm looking forward to. I'm more likely than not just going to go with Google because I'm Google's fucking bitch. I mean, I've got the Google phone. I've got the Chromecast. I don't have a Chromebook, but other than that, I got a Google tablet. All of my email and stuff goes through Google, so I'm more or less okay with that. Also, I found out that they may be opening up an office here in Atlanta, and it's very possible that it's going to be in the same building where my office is moving to at the end of this week. So I might have Google neighbors. I'm already going to have Twitter neighbors. So
what is name dropping? I'm gonna name drop. The reason why I have no voice is thanks to my younger brother, Dr. Fahad Akhtar, who took me to the Royal Rumble at the Wells Fargo Center, and he got us a suite. So we shared this little suite with 12 people. Actually, it was a total of 12 people. It was freaking fantastic. I booed my brains out.
I was just about to ask.
My voice is still shot, and it's been 2 days. So tomorrow I got a video shoot, so it'll be fun. It'll all sound very different, but tomorrow a lot of tea with honey, and I'll sound better. So that's why I sound like this. Last week I was apologizing about the lighting. Today I'm apologizing for this voice because it's flat out shot from screaming about the event that occurred.
The incredibly stupid booking. Okay, so Eric, you can just take a break because Ayaz and I are going to talk about wrestling for a second.
It's cool. I can just leave this episode. It's fine.
Eric, here I'll give you an assignment while Ayaz and I talk. Why don't you look? I'm gonna go ahead and forfeit my next pick for Netflix. You go ahead and start looking for something for us
What?
to watch.
I hadn't planned on anything. All right, all right.
Look at that. I'm trying to give Eric something to do. Like, God damn it. I don't want to do shit. I mean, that requires me to open up another tab on my browser.
It's true.
So I did not see the Royal Rumble. I didn't watch it. I read up on what happened. So you were there live in the crowd, right?
That's right.
So you actually got to experience the Philadelphia crowd totally turning on the WWE. Was it essentially when Daniel Bryan was eliminated from the Rumble?
That's a pretty good time. I wouldn't say they turned on them at that point. So, folks, if you don't know anything about Philadelphia and their sports history, Philadelphia is famous for booing Santa Claus, like I think at a baseball game. And they've booed their own players during the Eagles games. They've yelled "Fire Andy" when Andy Reid was the coach. So Philadelphia is pretty well known as a vociferous town. They like to make their opinion known. And Philadelphia is also a great wrestling city. And yes, I know pro wrestling is rigged. It's a television show that I like to watch. But unlike other TV shows, like you can kind of participate in this. So just if you don't get it at all, just imagine this is like going to the late night show and you get to sit in the audience and laugh. Except in this case, we get to actually voice different opinions. So when Daniel Bryan, who is basically a crowd favorite, got eliminated in the Royal Rumble, the air was basically sucked out of the arena. Everyone just kind of took a gasp. Like, was that supposed to happen? And then he starts walking to the back. And then that's when most of the booing started, like at least the quiet murmurs. It's not until Roman Reigns actually showed up at number 19 did the crowd completely start booing pretty much everything. It took like the appearance of like Damian Mizdow to show up to bring a bit of the crowd to bring some energy. It took a bit of Dean Ambrose came in, so I got some energy up. Ziggler came in, that brought energy. But every single time the energy would just drop down because we're like, this is inevitable. They are still going to push Roman Reigns, and they did.
Well, that was the thing, was that the deception we all go in, the illusion we all go in with when the Royal Rumble comes around, is the tenuous agreement among people that technically anyone could win, and not anyone's gonna win. It's not gonna be one of the people who's really super low on the card or one of their gimmicky, nostalgia picks that comes in like DDP was for this year. Those guys are there to get a crowd pop and to get the folks, reinvested in the show while also giving all the workers in the ring a chance to catch their breath. But when you have telegraphed who it is that you as a company are behind, and you don't include enough possible spoilers, like enough possible alternatives to your pick, then there's no reason for the crowd to be invested. And what really drove me nuts, and Eric, this is where I'm just gonna conclude this a little bit, so get ready to jump back into the conversation. You still there?
What?
Okay, just checking. Good on you, Eric. All right, so the final three, as I understand it, were Roman Reigns, Big Show, and Kane. Is that correct?
Yes and no. The last three guys in the ring were those three. Rusev was outside of the ring but not eliminated, so he came back in after the two giants were disposed of.
Right. Well, see, and that's the thing, is that when it got down to Roman Reigns, Big Show, and Kane, you already know that neither Big Show or Kane are going to win. Because then if they did win, your question would be, well, why the hell haven't they ever won before? Because these are, the whole point of them is that they're these huge guys, and it's supposed to make the act of throwing them over the top rope more impressive. So when it got down to just the three, then it's just it's obvious who's going to win. I mean, it was obvious in number 19, but now it's undeniable. There's no point in even watching. And I saw a lot of folks saying, demand a refund or cancel
that was
the
a
WWE
chant.
Network. Was
There was a
it?
chant,
Uh,
"We want refunds." There was the chant of bullshit. There was a chant of Daniel Bryan a bunch of times after Daniel Bryan was out. There was a chant for CM Punk when Ryback showed up. That's a total insider thing. There's like a whole bunch of like the crowd was letting the company know this is a bad idea. So at the end of this match, by the way, The Rock shows up. You know, the world
yeah.
famous actor Dwayne Johnson shows up, protects Roman Reigns. He got double choke slammed by these two giants who were just eliminated, and they're being petty, so they hurt Roman Reigns. The Rock comes out, crowd loses their minds, super excited. Here comes The Rock. Rock staves off the bad guys, leaves the ring for a second because Rusev comes back in. Roman Reigns gets rid of Rusev. Rock picks up Roman Reigns' hand. The crowd starts booing. And The Rock's got this confused face. It's an animated GIF already. He just looks like, what the because the booing that was going on at that point, one of the reasons why I have no voice is because I was also part of that crowd booing this situation, because this was incredibly. This is like, so if, again, because this is a scripted thing, it's like watching one of your favorite characters basically get shit on. Let's say you were a Bruce Wayne fan, and they're like, we're going to break his back, and here comes this new guy, Azrael. He'll become Batman. You're like, well, fuck that. You can't kill our Batman. You can't do that. It's crazy. And then you see the storyline play out, and you're like, Azrael's a piece of shit. I don't want to see this character be the Batman. So they brought back Bruce Wayne, even though he was all broken and stuff. That's kind of what this was like. So,
Except they didn't bring back Daniel Bryan.
Not like that. Here's the thing. So there were other favorites. Let's say Dick Grayson was one of your favorites. Like Dick Grayson, we'll make him like Dean Ambrose. Dick Grayson's one of our favorite guys too. Tell you what we're gonna do with him. We're gonna shit on him too. So he got knocked out in the match, picked up by the two gentlemen, Kane and Big Show, and just kind of dumped like a piece of garbage. Same thing with Dolph Ziggler. Pick him up. Here's let's say Tim Drake. Pick him up, dispose of him too. So not only did they not give us like compelling storylines with these other characters, they just basically shit on everybody's favorite people, so they could tell you this one guy can beat two giants and a bad Russian sympathizer. That's what he could do. And his buddy is The Rock. And they still hated him. And I don't know if I hate the guy. I definitely hate the storyline. But, like, man, it was not a fun storyline to play out.
And this is this is also sort of the culmination of WWE not really supporting Daniel Bryan, despite the fact that that's clearly who the crowd really gets behind. And it blows my mind because they could make such crazy money by throwing the fans a bone, but instead they insist they know better than the fans do who should be the top contenders in this fake sport. And it's people that no one has any interest in watching, at least not at the level of the headline of the top of the card. So anyway, that's enough of that. The interesting thing though is this does provide us a segue into this week's movie, because as mentioned, The Rock once played the character of the Scorpion King, and the movie that we watched this week was Scorpion King 4.
Very good.
Yeah.
We watched Scorpion King 4.
Which The Rock was not in.
He was not in. For those of you who don't know the rules of this little game, we pick a movie, and because we're so technically connected, we always have our tablets, smartphones, computers, friends, alcohol. We have all of these things, these distractions. We're like, could we possibly watch a movie without having to go to a second screen? And so what we do is we try to watch a movie, usually pretty terrible movies on Netflix. Like I used to look for 1-star horrible horror movies because I just used to like watching them, and it became this weird thing we started doing. So this week though last week I don't know what the hell we were doing. Scorpion King 4, and it's called Quest for Power, not related to Quest for Peace, another show on the GFU network. And I said I think I would last 45 minutes before using a second screen. Now,
I think I said 22.
And I think, Eric, you had 45 as well?
Yeah, I was up there with you. I think it was like 45.
All right. So in the meanwhile, by the way, I'm going to tell you how much time I lasted. I needed to get a second screen at 1805, and here's why. I got these Hue light bulbs, and I wanted to turn them like off. So I had to get my phone. I don't think that counts because I didn't start playing with my phone. 40 minutes and 19 seconds when I was like, screw it, I'm going to a second screen because I just don't care anymore. So I almost made it to my 45. How about you, Jonathan?
I want to hear Eric's first.
I actually I think it came out to be like 15 minutes and 30 seconds or something like that. It was pretty fast. It was somewhere around well, it was like 5 minutes after Lou Ferrigno was gone. I was like, well, this isn't going anywhere.
Okay, for me it was 0 minutes.
Explain how you did that. That's like one of my times.
I got a new puppy,
Yeah.
How can you
and
blame that on your puppy? You don't need a phone to take
Yeah,
care
the
of the puppy.
puppy. The
no,
puppy hit
but
you
I
drunk? What
had.
happened?
If we're talking about distractions, that movie was on. I didn't have a second screen open or anything. That movie was on for the full length of the movie. I have no goddamn idea what happened because I was dealing with methamphetamines in puppy form for the entire duration of the movie. I mean, literally, I would finally get him to kind of play with one of his toys as opposed to biting me. I've got scratches on my hand. You could probably just barely see that right there. That's a scratch
We'll add this to the
from my
list
dog's
of.
from anyway. So I I don't know what happened in this goddamn movie. I honestly don't. I watched bits of it and I'm like, oh, there's some place where there are traps. Oh, there's Barry Bostwick from Rocky Horror Picture Show. Oh, I don't know what's happening right now. Yeah, it was just that was my experience of watching it. So I don't have any notes because honestly, there wasn't enough of a coherent span of time where I was able to. And also, I should add that I tried watching this last week, which was the first week we had our puppy. So it was actually, I think, the day after we got him. I think it was that Sunday, the Sunday morning when I was watching it because I had to get up early to take him outside because he can't hold his bladder for 6 or 8 hours, so I had to get up early. And I thought, oh, I might as well watch The Scorpion King while I'm awake, and that's about as much as I can say about that. It was not good, I can say that.
Yeah, I'd say that's a fair judgment. I mean, my notes are really short, and I think the reason my notes are really short for this film is because not much actually happens. Like
That's true.
there's a lot of fight scenes, but there's not much dialogue.
Does he ever turn into a scorpion-like thing at all? Does that ever
No.
happen?
No.
No.
Yeah, the only thing I remember is that he dumps scorpions on somebody at one point. But that's
He's
he
framed for
doesn't.
that.
Yeah.
okay.
So yeah, Eric, you should, this never happens. Eric, you should read your notes about Scorpion King 4, and
Okay.
I will read my half an envelope at some point. And Jonathan has no notes to read, so he's going to actually learn about the movie here for the first time ever on this
Yeah.
show.
I like my notes are really short because it was hard to think of something that I wanted to actually write down. You know, um, let's see. One of my first notes is I'm 34 minutes in and I'm pretty sure nothing has happened. um, but I mean, so like it starts out, there's a bad guy whose name I didn't catch.
Drazen.
Drazen, there we go. He steals the thing. He's Scorpion King's partner in the beginning, and then he betrays him by stealing this thing and going to this other kingdom.
Whereas Dad
And
is apparently the king.
right,
Yes.
right, yes. Which, by the way, I never saw Scorpion King 3, so if there's like continuity in here somewhere, I'm missing all of it.
Yeah.
Um, but yeah, so like he goes back, the other guy's the king, blah blah blah. So Scorpion King goes to his king and is like, oh yeah, let me go over there and beat up those dudes. And his king is like, no, take over this peace treaty because there's this key to this magical thing, and I want to figure out how to rule the world. Fast forward, he's in prison in the other kingdom. They escape.
Wait. Who is they?
Oh, right. So while in prison, he meets this cute little blonde girl in the cell next to him, who
Hmm.
is the ex-girlfriend of the guy with the D, um,
Yeah, Drazen.
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 I mean,
So
all
they
guys have the D.
right.
That's what makes them guys.
Yeah, so they escape and they go find her father, who is, the tinkerer, weird, uh, medieval tinkerer. He's got magnets and makes trebuchets and things.
And this is the guy played by Barry Bostwick, who was Brad
Yes,
Majors in Rocky Horror Picture Show.
Or if you're a Spin
yes,
City fan, he's the mayor. I'm like, oh,
he
it's
is
the
the
mayor.
mayor in Spin
Finally, there he
City.
is. All right.
He was
Yep.
also he was also a guest star on an episode of Scrubs and was hilarious in it.
Was he not Jay Peterman in Seinfeld, or was that a
No,
different
he
guy?
wasn't.
Different
Different
actor,
guy.
different actor.
Very
Different
similar,
guy?
white shock
Okay.
hair, but different guy.
Yeah, haven't seen it in a while, but that's actually what popped in my head first, and then I realized, yes, Spin City.
Wait, was Rutger Hauer in this? He was, wasn't he?
Yes, yeah,
Okay,
he
yeah.
was.
I should have pulled up the IMDb page while we were talking about it, but I was like, did I imagine that Rutger Hauer was in it? Because I just watched Gallivant, and Rutger Hauer is in that too, and it
He's
could just
definitely in
be
Scorpion King 4.
okay.
I saw his name pop up a bunch of times. I'm like, that name is really familiar and famous. So I was like, why is it so important to me? But I remember it, but I don't remember who he was
He was
in the movie.
I think he was the king that the Scorpion King answered to.
Yes,
Yeah.
Okay.
yeah, I think so. Anyway, so they escape, and now they're on a journey to figure out where this key thing that they've found that is the key to everything goes. And then
Yeah,
the
and
rest of the movie's a bunch of fight scenes.
well, it's supposed to, like, I got the feeling just from the bits and pieces that I could digest that it was supposed to be something akin to the Odyssey or one of the Sinbad movies, where it's this mystical
Yeah.
journey where there's a series of different little adventures that lead up to the big culminating moment of the film. And it doesn't really work. Like, there's an encounter with a dragon where it turns out that the dragon is actually a giant mechanical construct. But
Right.
it's the legendary dragon, and of course Barry Bostwick's character, who is supposed to be a man of science, denies everything that is remotely magical. And it turns out he's right in that case, that the dragon was in fact a machine and not some mystical creature. But ultimately, it also turns out he's wrong when I think there's a moment where it's very kind of Indiana Jones and the Last Crusade-ish. The father is dying or is dead, is killed by the bad guy, and then Scorpion King has to go and get some sort of thing that ends up bringing him back to life. These are all just vague memories at this point, I admit.
Here's the thing.
You
This
are
is
dead on
shockingly
right
accurate.
now.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's perfect.
Yeah.
Shockingly accurate. Dead on. Oh man, like I just forgot my train of thought in this whole movie. But oh yeah, that's the thing. I was hoping against hope because it's because of the Barry Bostwick character, because he's all about science. He's like, there's no magic. There's no such thing as magic. And the Scorpion King, for those of you who don't remember, is actually based in the world of the Mummy. If you watch the Mummy, it's a bit supernatural because you take this guy. He's been dead for a while. He comes back.
Yeah, curses exist in this world.
Right.
And
So the
they're
fun
real.
thing about
curses work.
curses work. So I'm like, are they going to completely destroy and retcon the entire franchise of Scorpion Kings and the Mummy? Because I can't wait to figure out how they're going to do this. Because I'm hoping, as if this movie is going to go somewhere good, which it never really does. There's still magic and shit at the end of this movie. So there's science, but there's also still magic and shit. So sorry to
Yeah.
depress everybody with that one.
Yeah.
Yeah,
think-
it's I'm sorry, go ahead, Eric.
Oh, no. I mean, my other notes are just about their simple adventures, like they're all short. Like my note is, so now they have to cross-dress for some reason.
Yep.
Oh yeah,
I
that's
can,
what they
I can explain
invaded-
that.
Yeah,
They
no,
invaded
I
the
realized it after the fact, but I completely must have missed that dialogue when it happened.
I missed almost all of that until I happened to be glancing up and I was going like, what's with all the sapphic imagery here. Like,
Yeah.
why are all the women
Yes.
dressed in these kind of flowy, revealing outfits, and why are there only women? And then I was like, oh, that's the deal. This is like some temple, female-centric temple, and that's why Hercules, Scorpion King, is dressed in a dress.
Right.
That's
And
exactly
then
right. There's this key needs to be placed into some kind of statue. That statue happens to be at the center of this temple, which is run by all these women. Only women are allowed in. So they give the bearded Matthias like a veil, and they make the easy joke with Barry Bostwick's character. This is great because we keep calling him by his actual name, not his character's name, because I can't remember that either.
Brad
He
Majors.
says he seems to enjoy the. He goes, I enjoy the comfort. So they all go in, and then they turned the key, and it was some kind of steam powered lift, because the idea was this key unlocks like a bunch of magic, and the person who wields the key will rule all of the world. That's the concept. That's why this key is important. And there's only one man who can read the key inscriptions, and that's Barry Bostwick's character, whose name again escapes me. He's the father of the blonde lady, whose name escapes me.
and so yeah, they put the key in to this female
Which, by the
and of
way,
course then there's a different hole joke because nothing happens initially. And so he
right.
looks over at our female
True.
lead and says, maybe it goes in a different hole. Wink, wink, nudge, nudge.
Yeah,
Um,
there was definitely very non-subtle penetration humor about
right.
using a key. You're in an all-female temple. You use a key to penetrate a lock. That whole thing, I was like, okay, I don't really know what's going on. I just know that this is like the most heavy-handed, like it's symbolism. Like it was like that kind of thing. And
Yeah.
it was really shitty, really shitty.
Horrible. The lift thing lifts them up and, decode another clue, and they have to go to this mountain. But they have to find a map for some reason. So now they go to a sleazy, Jabba the Hutt character, who is a famous person that I've seen in something, and I can't remember where from.
He was in the
Oh,
Twilight Zone. You might have seen him there.
Was he? Okay,
Yeah.
maybe. But
no, I
I'll tell you
know.
the episode. Screw it, 'cause it's more interesting than the fucking movie.
Probably
It's the
is.
episode. There's an episode of the Twilight Zone where there's this guy who likes to tell tall tales, how he invented everything, and so these aliens show up and they've heard him talking this whole time. Since he's invented everything, they think he's the most important man in the world. So they abduct him and explain to him that they're going to keep him. So as he's freaking out about this whole situation, considering he's going to leave all his friends and stuff, he whips out a harmonica because what do you do when you're abducted by aliens and you're never coming back home? Play your harmonica. So he starts playing, and the aliens start seizing up. And I mean like it's hilarious, freezing, juddering, and they're like, "What is that noise? What is that noise?" And they send him back. So now this guy goes back to the real world with this tall tale that he basically saved all of Earth and himself from all of this whole alien invasion. And of course, they don't believe him because he's been lying the whole time. But he's the guy who is running the underground girl fight club. There you go.
Okay, I think
Yeah.
you must be. Are you talking about M. Emmett Walsh? Is that who you're talking
Uh,
about? The old guy who
Spell that name. Emmett Walsh?
M and then Emmett Walsh. Yeah, he was in a ton of shit. Like, I mean,
Oh,
he's
yeah,
just he's one of
that's
those.
him.
He's a working character actor who's been in tons and tons
Yeah.
of television and films, yeah, lots of various movies of varying degrees of quality, including things that are awesome, like Raising Arizona. I mean, he was in some good stuff, but he's also in some pretty crappy stuff. But
Well, I think I've mixed him up with somebody else. But anyway, I think you're right. You're definitely right. That's
I mean,
definitely his face.
he's been in
So he
other
looks like
stuff
the tall tale
like
guy.
he's been in Amazing Stories and Tales from the Crypt and all this other stuff too. So anyway, I think that's who you were referring to. But
You're definitely right.
at any rate, yeah. So bottom line, they go into the secret lair that the key opens up. There are all these different traps and stuff. The bad guy gets killed. The good guys get away. The last thing the Scorpion King does, before the doors seal shut the secret chamber, is he tosses the key into the chamber, thus sealing it forever, so no one's ever going to get access to this power to control the world. And then everybody is apparently okay because they all go and have dinner together, even the ones who had been trying actively to kill each other. Yep. At some point in the film, like people who were very much dedicating a great deal of time and effort into ending the lives of our main characters, are all just hanging out and having dinner at the end. Yay. So apparently it's, Scorpion King meets the fucking Brady Bunch is the way that ends.
Wait, did you skip some stuff?
No, I didn't. Nothing happens in this movie.
Wait. This is actually important. The girl whose name escapes me becomes the queen of this place because the father, who was killed and then brought back, is made the king, rightful king of Norvania, I think it's called. And then he decides to immediately give his crown over to his daughter so she could make a difference. Because one of the reasons why she was marrying Drazen in the first place was so she could change the kingdom from within. And then she said she wouldn't do it because she couldn't fathom sleeping with this guy. I'm not making up the lines. These are the lines of the movie. And that's a relatively large plot point. And then there is magic after all. And that Drazen explodes into ice because he wears the crown and he's cursed. And then he shatters into these perfect little cubes and stuff. Well, not cubes, like rocks.
Is that what happened? I didn't watch that part.
That's how Drazen dies because they're in this big maglev room. Because one of my favorite things about this movie, forget everything about the magic part of it. The scientist guy, Barry Bostwick, he goes, look, I built this with magnets. And he levitates like an anvil. And the way this thing is levitating will require such a magnetic field that I'm like, wait a second. There is no way it can move at this speed that quickly without being enclosed or whatever they were going to do this way. I got frustrated with that. I'm like, I'm watching the fucking Scorpion King 4. And I should not be picking apart the science here because it's a little off. But
no, it's true. I started to get annoyed when they were flying around the room in that last scene when they're talking about
that was also supposed to be maglev.
I'm like, come on.
This jacket has enough magnetic energy with the combination of the floor and the walls that we can force ourselves to fly forward.
Also the guy knows exactly how to do it after he puts on the jacket. Like I'd imagine this is something that takes a little bit of skill to be able to master, but
if you ever try to use a steady cam, it requires effort. Like you can't just kind of, it's going to be balanced now. It's like, you kind of work with it. So yeah, the jacket of power, which I'm surprised nobody ever called it that. But yeah, the jacket of power allows you to float around in one room and I guess 2 rooms in the whole building. Can I go with my notes because they're really small?
Please.
Yeah.
All right.
Do you have anything that mentions Lou Ferrigno?
I just the only mention I have is Lou with an exclamation point.
Yeah, because we didn't even mention that part. The movie opens like Lou Ferrigno is a heavy early on in the film. I think he even shows up at the dinner at the end.
He's at the dinner at the end. He's also dedicated to killing Matthias, and he's seriously featured on the cover of the
in the center center mid top of the cover,
the center of this poster or cover.
I think he is the largest face on the poster,
and I think he actually has less than a minute of screen time total.
Well, it's got a bit. So I was hoping that when it came to this movie, because I said I would take 45 minutes before needing a second screen, that I would take copious notes. That didn't freaking happen because there was not a lot to this movie, as you guys mentioned. So here's what I've got. Here's what my attempt was. There was like an early quote. That must be the treasure room. By the way, nothing actually indicates. So there's Drazen and Matthias. They're going to go and get the treasure. And inside the treasure room is this ceramic with the key. And they just kind of point to a room. That must be the treasure room. So I'm like, okay, right away, I know this movie is going to be interesting. Let's see. So as they find the treasure room, there's this giant gag of what would you call it? These swinging blades. One that's spinning like death and another one that's flinging out and whatever. So they're timed a certain way. Okay.
Right. It's like in Skyrim.
Yes.
Like the basic trap. And there's a gag there, right? Where you see a couple and you're like, well, that's not so bad, and then it's a fucking Cuisinart that comes out of the wall.
Yeah. Well, what I wrote here is I don't believe they had enough time to figure out the timing of the blade gags, because they literally like look at it for about 3 seconds and like, okay, I got it. It's like, how did you pick a pattern? Because there is none yet, and it leads to them kind of having this lame dance gag through these things, so they have to be real close together, and they make far too many mentions of that. So I've got the characters' names down: Drazen and Matthias, because I didn't realize Matthias is supposed to be the same guy as The Rock. It's always the same guy, except, and his name Matthias. They've just been played by 4 different actors, as I looked up in IMDb. That says Lou! Exclamation point. Now, normally I have lots of notes after this because the idea is stuff's happening. Shit doesn't happen. This is my favorite line. You're betraying me. Now, while Matthias and Drazen are fighting Lou Ferrigno's character, Drazen and Matthias are buddies at this point, and they're trying to get this key, like I mentioned. And so the key gets outside of this cage that Matthias got stuck in for a second time, by the way. He gets stuck in this cage. So he hands the key over to Drazen. Drazen, instead of helping Matthias get out, he decides to just take it away. But the line that Matthias actually says is, "You're betraying me." So it's not subtle. It's not like he just walks away. We're not like we're left hanging. We know that's happening. There's something about the way this movie is shot that makes it feel more modern than it's supposed to be. Every single castle scene has these beautiful, like, modern brick face to it. Now, I'm not the best historian in the world, but it just looked odd that this architecture seemed out of place. It was like what looks kind of historic and large. Nobody will notice the bricks are perfect, because they were built by machines. I don't know. This is Nirvana, 1805 second screen for lights, 4019 second screen. That's all I got. Because there was nothing going on in this movie. There was nothing to poke fun at other than it looked like a big episode of Hercules.
Yeah.
It was just there. Lots of action. I think the whole movie takes place over a couple of days. But it's pretty much, we got a quest. Here's what we're going to do. Here's a bunch of gags. It could easily be a 2-parter episode of Hercules.
Yeah.
Maybe 3-parter. It's like, oh, no.
If you got rid of all the dead stuff, it might be just a single episode of Hercules.
It would be a trailer to an episode of Hercules. You're right. You're like, next week on Hercules. Is that a dragon? A dragon. I know how to fix this. And then it goes flying through the air and that with the trebuchet. Like,
and see, here's the thing is that if it had actually been an episode of Hercules, chances are the dragon would have been played by Bruce Campbell, and this would have been way better.
Bruce Campbell could have helped us a little bit.
Yeah, he could have. I mean, Barry Bostwick was such an odd character because he was kind of like the bumbling scientist character. And the whole time I was watching it, I'm just like, oh, Barry Bostwick, you're better than this. Actually, there were quite a few actors that you just thought, this is clearly just a paycheck for them because they're better, way better than this material. Some of them obviously have done more like low budget stuff than others. I mean, I love Rutger Hauer, but I don't know if that man has ever said no to a project. But yeah, this was, and that also explains why it was so hard for me to remember any details from this, because even if I had been paying close attention, there's just not enough to really latch onto. Now, Eric, let me ask you this. Do you want me to pick next week's movie? Because I've got to pick if you want me to.
If you've got to pick, go for it. Because I have one that it's mediocre.
All right. Well, this one's going to be awful. We're going to... it's a film that has, for me, a prediction of 1.1 stars. But the title is one where we have to judge the movie against what its title is, and the title is Bad Girl Island, and then subtitle is Sirens of the Caribbean. And it's the little blurb is: a film producer on a Bermuda Triangle island becomes entangled with a sexy temptress and soon finds himself the prime suspect in his friend's murder.
It's starring James Brolin, Antonio Sabato Jr., Annalyn McCord, and those are the names I know. The rest of them I don't know offhand. Okay, that's Okay, the independent thriller genre, crime thriller, foreign thriller, mysteries, steamy thrillers,
yeah.
independent thrillers.
This movie is steamy, dark.
I have dark
So
steamy
so you
instead.
probably don't want to watch this while you're at your desk at work. IS.
I plan to not watch this at work. It's 93 minutes, so it's not bad, but it's gonna probably suck.
Sure.
So thanks for that one.
Yeah, this I think is gonna. Well, my favorite is now Netflix has the recommend to a friend button. So maybe what we should do is when we watch this, whoever watches the least amount of the movie has to recommend the movie to one of their actual friends.
Somebody real.
Yeah.
I've watched. So there was this huge influx of Lifetime movies on Netflix, and I have watched so many of them. The best one, by the way, this is not. So you guys can never use these because I've seen them all already. A Killer Among Us, which stars who's the guy who played Ed on TV? Tom Cavanaugh. That's his name.
I was like, I don't know what the fuck you're saying right now.
The show,
Like,
the show Ed.
Okay, I was like, who's the guy who played Ed on TV? I'm like, is there only one Ed on TV?
Yes, he. Well, it was the television show on NBC called Ed.
Gotcha.
Tom Cavanaugh's a super nice guy, and so this movie. I'm just gonna bitch about it real quick. This movie kind of has a mystery element about who killed this woman, but the fucking art has Kavanaugh being arrested, which you don't even suspect for a while because he's actually doing a good job grieving and everything. So not that like it wouldn't be predictable that, maybe because he's the husband, he killed the wife because that's what happens in all of these fucking movies.
I was about to say, it is a Lifetime movie.
You didn't have to give it away with the art. And also the Drew Peterson story. I got to tell you this. You got to watch on the Amazon Instant Prime, whatever the heck they call it. Drew Peterson story, Untouchable, starring Rob Lowe as this kind of squinty Chicagoan. It's based on a true story. And Kaylee Cuoco, how do you say her last name from Big Bang Theory? But that's that's one way to pronounce it. But these two are starring in this movie, and within 7 minutes, they're having an affair, and she's already pregnant. Like 7 minutes into the movie, and it's like, wait, what happened? How is this working? And by like minute 20, they're already married and having another kid. It's like its pacing is so ludicrously fast, and it's based on a true story, so it's kind of dark when you start thinking about what happens to the people.
Yeah,
but Rob Lowe in this squinty Chicago, he kind of talks like this, and there's a line he goes, "I'm untouchable, bitch," and you should really look it up on YouTube because it's just hilarious, especially with his ads of like, I'm this Rob Lowe who has cable, and I'm this Rob Lowe who has satellite. So he's really this sleazy.
It's like, hi, I'm Rob Lowe, and I'm Rob Lowe who's untouchable, bitch.
He talks like this, and he's kind of squinting. You're like, it's kind of hard for you to take him seriously because he's supposed to be this menacing character. But it's like, you're like, that's Rob Lowe in a bad wig and a mustache. And you're just kind of like, really? Okay. Did he really say, I'm untouchable, bitch? Yes, he did. Awesome.
I actually watched something that I thought was really good. And I'm late to the party. I know a lot of people have watched it already. Have you guys watched any of Black Mirror?
I've not watched it yet.
Yeah, I like marathoned it in a night.
Christ, man, talk about a dark series. I've only seen the first 2 episodes, so don't spoil anything for me, Eric. But each episode is its own self-contained story. Each episode is kind of set in its own world. They're all remotely connected to our actual world, but they're hyper-realistic in various ways. And it's all kind of the underlying theme is the dark side of technology, not just the technology itself, but how we incorporate that into our culture. And the first episode is really fucking hard to watch. I mean, it's good, but it is hard to watch. The second one was easier for me to watch, but I think was way more depressing than the first one. So,
I think the second one was actually my favorite, if I'm remembering correctly.
the second one's the one where they're all on the cycles.
Oh
They have
yeah. That one
Yeah.
was good. Yeah.
And the third one, I haven't watched it yet. I started it, but the third one, which has people have the ability to review the things that happen to them because everything is being recorded, except one lady in the story so far has said that she can't do that because that part of her brain was removed after she had an accident. But there's like an implant, I guess, that allows people to have their experiences recorded because memory is fallible, and this way you can have this reliable account of your life, also for security purposes, things like that. And from what I understand, that's been optioned to be turned into a feature-length film. I don't know if that'll actually happen, but yeah, the first 2 episodes that I've seen are amazing. I need to watch the rest, but it's the kind of thing that I can't binge watch that. I saw the first 2 and then I was like, I need a break because this is gonna destroy me if I just keep watching.
Yeah, they're definitely, they get, pretty deep, but it's good. It's one of those things that just like one of the reasons it bugged me was because everybody was talking about it, and then I watch it on Netflix and marathoned it and realized there's only 6 episodes, and I'm like, God damn it.
Well, yeah. Well, because each one is each one like 2 hours long, or is it just an hour long? It's 2 hours, isn't it?
I think they're just an hour. I don't think they're 2 hours long.
All right.
Yeah.
Well, maybe so, but it's because it's the longer format. Typically, English, British shows, they'll do a series of 6 half-hour episodes, but if it's an hour-long thing, then you don't get as many per season. So
yeah, it's 6. Yeah, they're 45 minutes long. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. So but yeah, I recommend it. Just know that you're getting into something that's pretty dark and pretty disturbing in some accounts. The first episode.
Can I watch this at work or not?
I wouldn't.
You can, but you're gonna want to kind of pay attention to it. Is there nudity in it? I don't remember.
There is some nudity. There's in the second episode there's some very brief nudity with the mandatory commercials that people have to watch.
Oh, right. That's right. Yeah.
But yeah, so I would recommend not watching it at work. But yeah, and like Eric was saying, you do want to pay attention to this because it's really well done, and it's a great commentary on society and technology. Not a happy commentary, but a good one. Even the more far out science fiction-y second episode has some great commentary on stuff that's going on in the world of online presence. So definitely check that out.
I grabbed. I'm trying to. Oh, go ahead.
No, you go ahead.
I was gonna say. So the other thing I started watching, which is a new show, was Man Seeking Woman, which is on FXX, which just sounds like a horrible name for a channel. But apparently it's based on a book, and I think there's only 2 episodes out so far. But it's a surrealist dating comedy, and I really enjoy it. so
oh, another one of those, huh? So many.
Surrealist to the point where he gets set up on a date with a troll, and it's actually him going on a date with a troll. Or he meets his ex-girlfriend's new boyfriend, and it's literally Hitler. It's and
that's interesting.
Somebody was I listened to some commercial and I'm like, that just sounds weird. And then I watched the first episode and I'm like, nope, that's exactly what it is, and this is kind of fantastic.
So the other stuff I watched recently, I watched The Interview because it showed up on Netflix. So I watched it. It's unremarkable.
It's what you expect it to be.
Yeah. Yeah.
I had the good fortune of I was watching it at my brother's place, and he was like, "I'm just going to show you the parts I think are funny." So we watched it about 10, 15, maybe about 25 minutes of the entire movie. And the parts I saw were quite amusing. And then I think, would you say there's a good half an hour in this movie?
I don't even know. Well, it doesn't appeal to my sense of humor. Like there were maybe a couple of moments that I thought were were bordering on amusing, but a lot of them were dependent upon just the premise of, hey, wouldn't it be funny if a dictator secretly loved Katy Perry? Like, isn't that a funny joke? And I for me, that's such a shallow, like, there's no meat behind the joke or anything. It's just it's such a weird, goofy throwaway. It didn't do anything for me. But also, you know, I get grouchy about these kind of comedies. So I don't know. Maybe it just isn't for me. It's not my kind of comedy. I can say
also,
that,
if you don't want to get fireworks stuck in your head, don't watch this movie. You will get fireworks stuck in your head.
It was easy for me because I'm not a Katy Perry fan. I've never really listened to her music, so I'm only like tangentially aware of that song. And even though they quote it several times and they play the song at the end when Kim Jong-un is actually being killed, spoiler alert, and it still didn't stick with me. But I watched that. I also watched the first episode of an anime series called Devil Part-Timer, which I gotta tell you, just for the first episode, I'm like, I'm going to have to watch this series now, but I'm going to wait until my wife and I can watch it together. So Devil Part-Timer, the concept is there's this other world that has 5 like land masses on it. And so you've got, you know, one to the north, one to the south, one to the east, one to the west, and then there's a central one. And Satan, the devil, rules over this land and has 4 generals, one that commands each of the other lands, like, you know, Lucifer or whatever. And anyway, a hero rises up to challenge Satan. This is all told in the first episode, beginning of the first episode. And the hero gets the upper hand. The hero and his companions, or her companions, get the upper hand. And so Satan has to flee to be able to regain strength and come back to try and reclaim his land. So he opens up a portal through reality. And he and his second in command step through the portal. And when they come out the other side, they are now on Earth. They are human. They still have some of their magic power, but it's limited. They can't just effortlessly cast spells. It takes a lot out of them if they try to. And then they realize that on this world, they're going to have to get a job to make money, to buy food, to support themselves. And so Satan, the human version of Satan, goes and gets a job at a fast food restaurant. And so you have Satan in the form of a young man in Japan who's serving food at a fast food restaurant, and it's glorious.
I just added that to my list because that sounds
Hulu,
pretty fantastic.
Yeah, it's on
It's
Netflix.
on Netflix too. Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, it is.
And then I also watched I Know That Voice, the documentary about voice actors, which is quite
That's
good.
a really fun one.
Oh yeah. I watched that the other day. That was good.
I did not know that Clancy Brown voiced Mr. Krabs on SpongeBob SquarePants. I know Clancy Brown as the Kurgan from Highlander. He's the bad guy in Highlander, and he voices Mr. Krabs, which I thought was very funny. But it's a great documentary, especially if you are interested in voice acting and, you know, the craft of voice acting, because they really go into the sort of work that voice actors really put into their jobs when they're trying to create characters and make them believable. And one interesting thing they didn't really cover is just that often you've got these ensemble shows, animated shows, but the actors are never acting together for the most part. I mean, once in a while you get them together, but usually they're all recording their parts separately. So it takes a lot of skill to give a great performance that can be edited together with other performances to create an actual ensemble feel.
You just reminded me of something I actually want to see happen one day, which is the SpongeBob cast do inside the actor's studio, like like the Simpsons did.
You've
They
seen
did.
the
That's right.
videos. You've seen the videos of the voice actors at Comic-Con who did the read through of Star Wars: A New Hope, but they kept on switching their voices for all the characters, right? You've
Oh
seen
yeah,
that?
yeah, yeah,
That's
yep.
brilliant. It's brilliant. I think my favorite was when they had Christopher Walken be R2D2. Bleep, bloop, whistle, bleep.
I don't think I got through the
So
whole entirety of that because it just seemed like, okay, all right, I don't want to watch Star Wars at all. So even
right.
this is not going to do it. Other than when Kevin Conroy was doing Batman's voice as the narrator, that I was just like, okay, cool. It's got Batman.
The jokes were, it was kind of funny, but yeah, it was one of those things where you're like, this would work a lot better if this were a 20-minute panel as opposed to an hour-long panel. Yeah, because after a while you're like, all right, especially like some of the character choices for certain segments of the script really just didn't work too well. But when it was working, it was hilarious. It also shows how a lot of the characters, not all, but several of the characters, sound an awful lot alike each other, like from a single voiceover actor. There's some voiceover actors who are amazing at creating, a billion different voices that are actually distinct from one another. Like Billy West is really good at that. But some of them, like you'd be like, I honestly can't tell the difference between this one and the voice that was done just a minute ago.
Like John DiMaggio sounds like John DiMaggio.
Yeah,
Kind of all this thing.
he
I mean,
can
he's got some range.
stretch. Yeah, he can stretch out of that a bit, but a lot of his characters are around that kind of Bender sort of voice.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, but
So
still, all of those are good recommendations. Much better. So if you are looking to us for recommendations of what to watch on Netflix, avoid Scorpion King 4 and watch one of the other things we've talked about.
Okay, wait a second. Scorpion King 4 might be one of the least offensive movies. I mean, it's kind of shitty.
Yeah.
And it's
No,
shot
yeah,
well. Audio is good.
Yeah.
It does have some really lame jokes,
Yep.
And if
But-
you're
but
looking
no,
if you're looking at the art and you're like, hey, I can't wait to see this actor in it, you're totally not going to see that actor in it because
it's
that's not
really
gonna happen.
sad when we have to judge movies by the simple statement of, well, I mean, the audio was good. So
Right.
I want to find the movies that had that problem. Netflix is cleaning this stuff up far too well. I want to find the next Mummy Maniac where I was like, what the fuck is going on in this movie? I have gone like into the 80s to find stuff on Netflix, and I still am not finding anything. The closest thing I've the other saving grace of Netflix has been Kirk Cameron stuff, and I'm running out of Kirk Cameron stuff.
yeah,
Okay.
we might have to flip to a different platform soon if we're running. I mean, Netflix they seem to be eliminating a lot of the low quality stuff. So
Well, they're not eliminating low quality stuff. They're eliminating stuff that, when you're saying low quality, I guess you're specifically meaning production value. A lot of the stuff we're seeing has decent production value, but I would still call most of it low quality.
well, yeah,
That's
fair
true.
enough.
I mean, I watched.
So-
I was gonna say the Lifetime movies. I have them on screen right now. The Lifetime movies I was watching: Secrets of Eden, starring John Stamos as a pastor. I had to watch that. The Amanda Knox story, which was Amanda Knox was played by Hayden Panettiere. I don't even know her last name. She was on Heroes.
The cheerleader from Heroes.
Yes, she was like the main character. There's the Jodi Arias Dirty Little Secret thing, which actually stars this girl from Malcolm in the Middle, and it's the thing about these movies, they're Lifetime
Are you
movies.
starting a Lifetime movie podcast without us?
No,
like we can pivot.
there's not enough Lifetime movies, man. They're just, and these ones,
wait,
they don't
I asked
suck as badly as they used to. That's what's driving me nuts. They're not as bad as they used to be.
What's driving me nuts, Ayaz, is that you could have picked a Lifetime movie for us to watch, but you picked fucking Scorpion King 4.
in fairness, these movies were just added, so they just popped up and they were showing up in new releases, and I was like,
You know what you
oh
could
man,
also do? You could also show some goddamn self-restraint and save one of them
no,
for us the next
there's
time it
no
comes around.
way.
But no, instead we've got to watch yet another completely mediocre film that's not bad enough to be enjoyable and not good enough to have anything meaningful in it.
Hey,
We're just
look,
going
you
to
know
be
what?
stuck with those.
I'm going to use these as my picks. How about
Okay.
that? I've actually seen the damn movie like a week ago, assuming it
You
still
can't-
survives on Netflix.
You can't do that though. You know, it has to be a movie that none of us have
Yeah.
seen before, or at least have
Oh
no
well,
memory
we
of.
can change the rules.
No, I think
There's-
they've been
there's-
codified.
We
at this
made
point.
up the
Fine.
rules. It's not like
Here's a new one that has been added that I'm seeing that's starring Tony Braxton, which I will show restraint on. Twist of Faith. I'm just calling it now. And when I watch it by accident tomorrow,
I have a feeling this
Apologize.
is going to be a religious movie.
So
I think it is.
What we want is we want another Black Knight Returns, right? We
Yeah.
want another film where the movie itself is apeshit crazy, the production values are low, the people who
Well, that's
made it
still available.
truly believed in what they were doing, because that's what really gives it more of an impact to us as viewers. What we don't want another bad movie by committee like The Asylum. Like those movies are just awful. And we don't want like a huge big budget hollow movie like Transformers Dark Side of the Moon. Was that the one we watched?
yes.
Yeah.
We don't want another one of those. So if people have suggestions for
we watched-
cheesy movies that are, you know, kind of like that B movie exploitation movie sort of world, and it's available on something like Netflix or Amazon Prime, then you need to let us know about the ones we need to see. Like Senorita Justice, another great example. That was phenomenal.
That Thor movie. What was the Thor movie?
Adventures of Thunderstorm, right? Is that what it's called?
Yeah.
Was it Thunderstorm? Okay, I couldn't remember if it's Thunderstorm or Thunderbolt. But yeah, that was an amazing one too. You know, I would shy away from saying movies like Mummy Maniac because that movie was just as I recall, that movie was just a series of scenes of a big old sweaty guy manhandling a series of bound women, and there wasn't really any plot to speak of. It was just that over and
I
over
think
again.
you just summarized that movie better than the plot summary of the film.
Wait, so yeah, if you wanted to get a better experience what that movie was like, take Jonathan's audio and have it bounce around the walls of a tiled bathroom, just really loudly, so you can't quite figure out what he's saying.
And
It's
use
just-
that tiled bathroom as every set in the movie.
And make sure the
it's
camera
not
is
supposed
at
to
your
be there.
Your camera is at your foot for some reason each time with a giant fisheye. So good on them for that. And I think
tell you
the
the
bathroom
movie
is
that-
painted black.
The one we really need another movie like the film I think that we desperately need another movie like this is The Miami Connection. We need another Miami Connection. That movie was so wackadoodle crazy and ridiculous and fantastic. And that young man found his father. My father! My father! It's my father!
I saw one today that I wish was on Netflix, but it's not. And that was because I was like, I think I was going through the IMDb for the actors in Scorpion King,
Yeah.
and one of them was in Roadhouse 2, which apparently
Yeah.
is a thing.
I didn't know that was a thing until I saw Roadhouse 2 listed somewhere as well, and it may have been on a streaming service at one point, but so it's no longer on there.
It's not on Netflix, at least.
Well, it's time to go to Can I Stream It? Let's see here. Roadhouse 2.
You're watching
should be-
live continuing coverage of us searching for shit online.
It should be Roadhouse. It should be Roadhouse 2 with the subtitle "Pain Don't Hurt."
Yeah.
Or "Pain Still Don't Hurt." Yeah, it's not available. It's available for digital purchase for $10 on Amazon.
Oh yeah, that's not happening.
Or if you don't want to shell out the $9.99 for digital purchase, for $9.98 you can get the DVD. So for 1 cent cheaper.
YouTube.
Oh, that
It's
reminds
me.
Roadhouse 2.
I was trying to watch Saved by the Bell, the unauthorized story, and
Oh, right.
I was looking for it online, which was also, by the way, was a Lifetime movie. I'm not kidding about that. And the digital download was $15. The DVD was $7.88. And I was like, and I contemplated buying it for half a second, like, if I pay $7. But I was like, wait, then I will own the fucking DVD. Like, I don't want to own the DVD. I just want to watch it once and go, this is never going to happen again. So it's gonna. So I didn't bother with that. So
I was going to say, so you rented it for $15 instead? Because that is horrible. You could have at least bought the DVD, watched it, broke it in half, and thrown it away.
that would have made a much better story. I might have to redo this story. This story never happened.
Well, you know what, guys? I think we've had a fun time talking about this, but I'm about to lose consciousness, so I think we're going to need to wrap things up.
Hey, let's take a look into the future next week on Podcast Without Pretense.
Man, I'm planning my next vacation to Bad Girl Island.
I shouldn't have bought 3 puppies while watching this movie. They're going to be delivered in an hour.
You can't. Okay, so don't break the DVD over your leg because they're sharper than you think they are.